What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the AFC podcast. We got a very special treat for you today. It's our first podcast in the park. I'm currently down at West 4. Today of all magical days, I was asked to be a guest speaker as a nonprofit founder at this summit called OpCon. More information, if you're following us on Instagram, you probably already know. My very special guest today, calling in all the way from Istanbul, is Miss Selin Uzal. How's it going, Selin?
Good, great. How are you?
I'm actually, honestly, I'm doing fantastic. If you can't tell, I'm actually down at West 4th in Lower Manhattan right now. Got the fountain in the background. Got that awning French thingy over there. I forget the name of it. I know it's a real name. I completely forgot the name of it.
You're right by NYU then, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm actually, I think only a block away.
Yeah, at the lower end of the park should be the entrance to the NYU buildings. I studied there for a semester, so that's why I know.
Oh, what'd you study at NYU?
Performing arts.
Oh, so were you a theater major, an actress?
My major was in politics. I studied in Pepperdine University in Los Angeles, but I took a break from Pepperdine, just freeze it for a semester, and went to NYU Tisch special programs for performing arts. Yeah, right. So I did like a semester, and then I transferred the credits to my politics degree, basically.
Oh, so you took a career pivot and you went more into the performing arts?
I do them both, actually. I'm still doing them both. So sometimes I take a time off in one of them and then spend a year or spend a semester in the business for the other one, which is how I did my master's degree last year. So back and forth.
Oh, so you do have a master's degree?
I do, yeah.
Congratulations, I failed 3 colleges.
Oh no! Did you really?
I'm not making that up. I did. I don't know if I could say that I did fail, but I did not pass the curriculum.
Okay, yeah, that's a fail. I think you failed, safe to say.
And now I'm doing a podcast from my cell phone at West 4th Street. So I guess we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
So, performing arts career. What inspired you to kind of do the transition over into the performing arts?
Actually, I didn't transition into it later on. I had started performing arts when I was about 9 years old. It was already set in stone when I was a kid. I'm one of those actresses who basically got on stage in school, in a school theater show, and fell in love with acting and fell in love with the stage, and then just decided right then and there that I was going to be an actress. It's the politics part, the degree part that came in afterwards, basically with the question of, what should I study as a degree program? And I had already studied acting, and I had already been on stage for several years by then. And I didn't want to do a program in acting, basically. I didn't want to go to conservatory. I wanted to have a second field for my life, I'm Turkish, so my parents were quite adamant in like having a safe plan B. So, I said, I'll do politics.
So as far as politics goes, did you ever see yourself in a position of leadership, whether it's on a state or federal level?
Nope.
No, absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. I was the vice president and president of the student council in middle school. Like
Cool.
Did have some interest in like representing people, but the more I studied it, it's a 9-to-5 job. Like, I'm a creative person. I'm an artist. I do 4 or 5 things at a time, maybe halfway, but like I can't do a 4 or 5 job. Too many rules, too normal. So no, I actually don't see myself going into any federal government or organizational jobs.
Gotcha. But you could probably play the character if ever.
Yeah,
Get your
maybe.
way.
I like academia, so that's why I did the master's degree. I grown to like academia, where every day you're learning something new. I like information, so research is nice. Theories, theories on peace and theories on warfare, they're quite interesting to me. So I'll keep going in the academic side, I guess.
Awesome. Very cool. So what are some of the things maybe you've worked on recently?
Well, I'm actually on set currently, acting in a streaming service, global streaming service. Am I allowed to say? I don't know, because what the streaming websites, the information and the name of the project isn't released until it's
Aired.
on stream. Yes, until it's aired. So it's
We did have a guest not long ago who was not allowed to disclose her Amazon Prime debut, but I found out what it was. Shout out to the Witchers. Shout out to Anna.
No.
But she said it got released now in June. So this podcast, this show, it'll probably come out, I want to say the end of July, give or take. We had so much volume of guests this season.
That's very cool.
You guys are coming out of nowhere. Like this is really cool.
Well, I was really happy to get the information from you. It was really interesting. It's nice to get on a call and be able to speak with someone from across the world. So it was interesting.
Was it through the Backstage campaign?
It was Backstage. Yeah.
Awesome.
I get a lot of work for the United States. A lot of really cool work through Backstage. It's very nice.
Well, how do you work from Istanbul, Turkey, right, all the way here to the States? What do you do?
Well, when I did my first film, I acted in my first American film was InterReflections. It was directed by Peter Joseph, the writer director of Zeitgeist Documentaries.
Okay.
Very
cool.
Yeah, and it was his fourth film, and I basically sent an audition tape, and then I got a call back, and it was kind of meant to be, because when I got the call back, I was already flying to LA for a competition, for a monologue competition for ABC. And I was on the plane when they emailed me and they said, hey, we would like to see you for a callback this week. And I was already on the plane.
Oh, let's go. Congratulations.
Yeah, let's go. Exactly. And for that trip, I actually stayed for a couple of days because I think I was working here too. And I did the competition entry and I did the callback and I flew back here. And then when I got the job, I just flew again to Los Angeles for the shoot. And that was in 2019, should be 19. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, immediately before the pandemic.
Unfortunately, yeah, everything worked out great until the pandemic, unfortunately.
Okay. So did anything ever come to fruition as a result of doing the ABC monologue competition?
No, I did not. I wasn't picked as a finalist. Not on that one. Not yet. Not yet. I'll do it again. Yeah, you can try again.
Well, what was your monologue?
Oh, what was my monologue? I think it was from the film Changeling, the one where Angelina Jolie plays a mother whose child is basically replaced, and she is oppressed by the police not to speak up about it. So it was a scene in the mental hospital. She actually gets locked up in a mental hospital for speaking out. And it was a monologue with her in the mental hospital.
Hey, I'm not familiar with this film. I don't think I've seen it. Definitely not.
Yeah, it's a really nice film. It's a really cool film. It's a drama.
Do you know when it came out? Or do you have the date on when the film came out?
For InterReflections came out in 2020. It was supposed to go through the festival circuit, but there were no festivals because the world was in lockdown. But it's in streaming services right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fun fact: the Astoria Filmmakers Club, we have started our own streaming platform as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, AFC TV Plus. That's the space where all independent filmmakers, they showcase their work. I guess that's pretty much it. Like, there's not much else to do. It's a free platform. It's available to watch from anywhere with internet, Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
My goal, I don't really have like I don't have like an objective necessarily with it, but I do want to see at some point AFC originals, where at some point, now that we all met, we all kind of worked on our own thing, can we work together as a group and create our own original stories from scratch, and basically from the ground up create an entirely original story, or a story from scratch.
That's cool. You said AFC.TG plus?
TV isn't television.
TV, okay. Obviously.
Yeah, sorry. AFC, or acronyms.
Right.
AFC TV plus, and yes, you do have to, when you go on .com, do not put the plus sign. You got to spell it out. .com. AFC TV plus.com.
Well, that's really cool. I hope it takes off.
Sure. We're not doing too terrible. I mean, a lot of members from the club, they submitted their stuff. We had a lot of, we actually had 3 from the Triborough Film Festival that came out this past year. They are showing their short versions, and they doubled down. They're expanding into feature film based on their shorts, one of which, Mittens, shout out. They're a 2-time winner of the Triborough Film Festival. I think they won. They did. They won for Best Actress, and they won for Best Makeup. I think they were nominated in either 1 or 2 other categories.
Really cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. If you get a chance, check out Mittens on AFC TV Plus. It was actually, like, I'm not surprised. Like, I met the guy, Lewis, hasn't been on the show yet, but just a stand-up kid, very creative, interesting to say the least. But and he, like, a very good actor. Like, he put the work in, and it showed in the movie. He wrote it. If he had a team produce it and direct it with him, and like it showed in the work. And it was this tiny little horror movie. Like, it wasn't that scary, but it was a horror technically. I thought it was more of a comedy, but it worked. It was really. For me, I'm not a horror guy. I can't. I can't do it. But this one, I was able to stomach, and it was just a great film to watch.
Was it feature or film? Was it short or a feature? Sorry.
The one that he premiered, that was a short film. He's currently in pre-production for his feature film. They're fundraising right now, and I think he just put together a promotional trailer for accumulating funds. So I'll be sharing that trailer for the feature on AFC TV Plus to help raise awareness for it. And if people want to, we could actually, on the AFC part, you can actually help provide basically the grant money. If the public wants to see this film, it would go directly to his project.
Cool. That's very nice.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of nice work.
Good. Well, I'm working in the post-production of my first short film, so it's a fantasy as well. It's not really horror, but it's fantasy thriller kind of a thing. It's just being submitted to festivals right now, so we'll see how it does. It's the first screenplay I've ever written during university that I directed and produced. So we'll see how it does in the festival circuit.
Let's start at the very beginning. What is the name of your movie, and what is it about?
Cool. Well, it's Azrael, so the angel of death. It's basically, actually, the premise is about losing time over fear. Our protagonist, he represents the mass fear that people have about death. And he encounters Azrael 2, 3 times when he wasn't supposed to. And he starts running away to an indefinite destination. But at the very end, as he runs away, he finds out that Azrael is waiting for him in the hotel room that he checks into. And Azrael just sits there, just sipping its coffee, kind of baffled, having a little cheeky smile, and asks him, "What were you doing in all those other places? I was worried you were going to be late here." And, he sips his coffee and then just takes his life in a way where he was already supposed to be there whenever he was supposed to be there. So all those minutes in the short film that he was running away during, a time where he could have been with his friends, during a time where he could have been with his girlfriend, he wasted it all for nothing. And it's basically about making the most of the time and having a finite life.
I never heard of the Angel of Death named Israel. I knew Christopher Walken played the Angel of Death.
Israel. Azrael. It's in Turkish. It's Azrael.
Azrael.
Azrael, and Azrael is in Turkish it's with an E, but in English it's with an in Turkish it's with an I, and in English it's with an E. Azrael. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Yeah.
Huh. Is there like a mythology behind this angel? It's honestly, it's the first time I've heard about it. Or it. The first time I've heard about it.
This is a story that my granny used to tell me when I was little. It's basically like a folk tale. And I grew up hearing, and I wrote it into a script. And
okay.
Yeah, our angel of death is because I'm playing it, but she's very cheeky. She's kind of bored. She wants to go around, play with the cat, and she wants to hang out a little bit, and she gets scared. She gets upset that people always run away from her because, what she's doing is her duty, and, she's taking life, but that's it's the same thing, giving life and taking life. There's no good or bad in the eternal balance of life. So she's kind of upset that everyone's running away from her.
Well, technically a cat has 9 lives, so it kind of makes sense they would become
exactly.
It's like, oh, the cat keeps dying but keeps coming back. We're definitely going to be friends.
Exactly. So if I get to turn it into a feature in the future, I'm gonna work a lot more on the character of the Angel of Death, like a comical, fun character.
Okay, so the story that you're making, how long would you say it is?
Oh well, it's below 10 minutes. It's about 9:55. I mean, right now it's 10 minutes and 14 seconds. But for it to be eligible for a shorts, it has to be below 10. So I'll cut it down to 10 minutes. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was always under 15, but I guess I learned a new lesson today. Thank you.
It's 10. Yeah. And we have our original music and stuff, so I'm quite excited about it.
Oh, so as a producer and creator, how long would you say you've been working on this project from start until where you are right now?
Wow. Well, I haven't been working on it actively all this throughout this time, but I started writing it in 2013. So that's 10 years.
Slowly but surely, slowly is the fastest way to get to where you want to be.
Exactly. And I'm a perfectionist, so I could have finished the post-production way before, but I have to have it in a way the best as it can be. So it's been my trainee film basically since it's my first film. It taught me everything in all the fields of filmmaking, and I haven't studied filmmaking, so I've butchered it so many times and I restarted it so many times. So it's been a long time coming.
Congratulations. All right.
Thank you.
I think timing's everything, especially if you do want it to be done the right way.
Yeah.
And in this, in all seriousness, you cannot do this alone.
No.
You just can't. You cannot do it alone. And in some cases, in my experience, especially recently, I didn't really even find the appropriate, good, well-fit director, creator, cinematographer until this year. And prior to that, we never met. And that even goes for finding somebody to compose the music, or just the timing of it all. So what was it like actually getting people to want to be a part of this with you?
Well, at the time, before I started production, when I moved back home from the United States, I worked as a assistant director for about 2 years, almost around 2 years. And at the time that I wanted to shoot this film, I was actively acting in a TV series. So I had to gather around people from many people that I've worked with in different commercial projects and that TV series. And if I hadn't been actively working in the industry, if I hadn't had other assistant friends who wanted to help each other out, who would just come on set with me, who would read my script and then give me feedback, and who would redo the editing with me over and over again. If I didn't have people who were at the same place at their career as I was, if I didn't have their goodwill, I wouldn't have been able to pull it off, because it takes a lot of teamwork and it takes a lot of time to gather around the right people to do that. Because once you don't have the right people, it's weird. It's almost scary how fast the project can go wrong. Because if the two people don't have the same vision, then a totally different thing comes out. That's why I had to edit it many times, because I had an editor. I found an editor, and then she did some editing and she gave it back to me, and it didn't even look like a film. The whole emotion, the whole vision had gone out the window, and she had a completely different vision of what I was saying or what I was trying to do. So yeah, it takes a long time.
Absolutely. So with the collaborators you have on right now, have you guys been able to shoot a single scene yet?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that one.
Okay. Have you been able to shoot any of the scenes yet?
The scenes, well, the whole thing is shot. I've shot the whole thing.
Okay, so you're in post-production.
Yeah, I've shot the whole thing. I've got a rough cut. I've got music. I've got all I need is for color and scoring, basically, and some animation, maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of animation? Are we talking about just CGI, or are you going to get into two-dimensional little cartoons?
No, I can't. It's low budget, so you can't do those things right with low budget. It's just basically small additional things like fonting and with the color, with the face of the angel of death and stuff. That's about it.
Sweet. And how does the rough cut look so far?
It's looking good. I'm going to have to change some stuff, but as I was submitting it to the festivals, I was submitting to London the other day. I watched the rough cut again after a while, and I was actually quite happy. I was happier with it than the time I left, since the time I'd given a break to it. Because when you watch it and rewatch it again, it's like you don't even see anything anymore. After taking a break, yeah, it felt so much better. It's looking good.
Oh, you mean you don't see the blemishes?
Yeah, it's just because you've been watching the same thing over and again so many times it's like there's an endless editing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like I need to take a break from it and come back to it after a while.
Okay. Well, how much more post-production do you think you have with this Israel film so far?
I want to finish it this month, this season. That's why I started applying to festivals. It has to be done because this is as best as it's going to get with all its faults and all its first short film mistakes. At one point, you have to realize that you've done your best, and then you carry on your lessons to the next project so you can do it better from scratch.
Do you have already a general idea on what you'd like to work on next?
Oh, I write feature scripts. I have a war script that has won some funding in Turkey for screenwriting and development. And I would want to do that, but that's like it's a war film. So that's a huge project. I don't know if that will be my next one. But I'm going.
Did you say a war movie?
Yeah, war history based on real events.
Dare I ask a little bit more, because I do really like a good war stories. They're very they're war stories, but those are the ones I truly do. I do like and dislike at the exact same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I'll answer whatever I can.
Well, all right. So what's this story about? Can I ask?
Well, it starts towards the end of World War One. It's a World War One war movie basically, and it bleeds into the Turkish Independence War, and it's basically the real story of one of the civilian fighters who's behind the trenches during World War One, but who's in front of the warfare during the Turkish Independence War.
So is it based on a true story?
Yeah, true story.
What was the name of the soldier?
I can't say that.
All right, sorry. Oh, come on. If it's already on Google, but it's just different, why not?
It is already on Google. That's why.
Yep. All right. I'm not going to put any pressure on you, but how far are you in the creative process of telling this true war story?
Well, I've done 4 rewrites on the script so far. And I've also started this one in Pepperdine in 2013, which is basically when I was studying screenwriting in Pepperdine in my 5th year. So I've been working on this one for 10 years as well, on and off. But I did a lot of the research on this, and I did 4 drafts. And I think there's probably 4 more, at least 4 or 5 more drafts, because the history is so detailed that it's, there's a lot of detailed work to redo and redo and redo over and over again to get things right. So it's still in screenwriting stage, let's say that.
Okay, so is this one, I guess, it's not a documentary then. This is more of like a narrative drama story where it's not really fictitious, but there is sort of like this, I guess, fictional element to it to make it more cinematic.
Exactly.
I understand. Over 10 years ago, I started a story called Forgotten Legacy, and then it changed to Ethos, and now it's called Heart and Soul, and that's a story about the Korean War.
Oh, nice.
But it's based on a variety of true stories, not just one. It's not about just one soldier. It's about soldiers told me their stories. And these guys right now, unfortunately, like they're in their late 80s. They're starting to dwindle down. One of my dearest friends and mentors, he fought in the Korean War, and just, I don't know what he was thinking. He didn't know what he was thinking, but he volunteered to go to Vietnam.
Yeah. He volunteered?
Oh yeah, he volunteered. He was a combat medic during the Korean War, and I guess he just had to go back. Like the impression of going over to Korea,
Right.
I guess to stop the spread of communism. I don't think that was his motive to go to Vietnam, because his skills were to actually be on the surgical table, making sure that another soldier doesn't lose his life. And knowing him, that would be the only reason he would go back to war, was to make sure he could bring somebody else back home with him.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very interested in the Korean War as well. I mean, it's such an interesting story. And Turkish soldiers have been sent out to help in the Korean War as well. So it's quite close to our history. And we have like a sentimental attachment, because we share a co-history of warfare together, like in support. And I think the first time I ever got interested in war stories or the subject of warfare was with the Korean War. I had read a article on a history, a historical magazine, a history magazine about the Korean War. And I think that article is what got me to do war films and write war films in the very beginning.
Was that an old article, like during the time, or something more of a follow-up to modern day time?
It was a modern article that researched into what happened to the events between the Turkish soldiers and the Korean soldiers in the Korean War.
Oh, so was Turkey part of like the UN?
It was like it was like a support troop, extra troops.
I didn't know Turkey was involved. I knew Greece was involved pretty heavily. You know, Greece, they did their Spartans justice, man. It's not, I don't like to smile about it, but it's like these guys, they couldn't break it. They couldn't get through them. It was from what I found out, it's just like,
yeah.
And that obviously that was just like a whole story in itself. And cinematically, what I discovered the more I kind of talked about this story, I thought it was a film. It's not too big, and I guess now that we got the streaming platform and the AFC and all that other good stuff, we can expand and do episodics, you know, and really cover a range of platoons, missions, everything.
That's nice. Yeah, it's actually a lot easier to tell a war story in an episodic format than a film, because you have to leave a lot of the stuff out for, you know, to fit it into 140 minutes. Max.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah,
like,
not gonna happen.
Especially for a war that lasted a few years.
Yeah, that has been my biggest challenge in my project. But I'm sticking with the film. I'm adamant about doing it into a film. But then I could do a episodic with a different structure of the war.
Welcome to Happy Corner. This project strives to make safe housing areas for stray cats at an affordable price. It's so easy to put together that even your children could have fun making one. Help keep cats and other animals safe with their own little Happy Corner homes. You can help this project become a reality by donating to the GoFundMe page. Happy Corner homes are a great way to show those animals in need it's okay to be happy.
Have you ever seen Band of Brothers on HBO?
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, like Band of Brothers, that came out, and then not too much longer after that, you know, that was sort of on the European front. Same producers, they actually covered a similar story, I think, with the Pacific. And in the Pacific, it was Japanese. It was the fight in Japan, but it was all part of not the same 108th Airborne. I don't think it was, because the 108th only was in Germany and France and Europe. I don't think, if I remember the show, if they went over into the Pacific. That was a totally different storyline. And what I liked about that was how they covered just the other branches of the military forces, like the Navy, for example. The battle scenes on the water was just was completely different compared to Saving Private Ryan, also Steven Spielberg. The coming on the boats with Normandy, totally different approach.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it's the film and the episodic is totally different. Two different structures. So you have to pick, right? You have to pick your battles. You have to pick your vision and see like which one you really want to see on screen.
Everything is streaming nowadays anyway. You know, there's so many changes going on right now, and technology is part of that growth.
It's true.
That was the other thing when I watched Saving Private Ryan versus, what's a good example of CGI?
Yeah.
Not Windwalkers, because that was a Korean Web story for Nicolas Cage. That was pretty real. That was some legitimate special effects that they were using. They didn't use CGI.
I mean, if HBO wants to make it into an episodic, I'll consider it.
And you know, it's funny. I'm actually starting to shake hands with everybody at HBO right now.
Well, that's a great place for war storytelling.
I agree. That's a very good platform, I think, because they cover a lot of world history.
They do.
They do, you know, and I hate to say like how war itself became a genre in filmmaking. It is, but man, oh man, like, you know, because war is real. That's real, and of course, there's a lot of, I hate to say romance now, but it's really hard to minimize like the real effects of what war actually does do to society, to people.
Oh yeah.
All of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I like and dislike it strongly, but I still appreciate it because there is beauty that can come out of ashes. And I think it does take a responsible filmmaker to show what those rosebuds are. If you know what I mean.
I agree. Which is exactly why I wanted to do a based on real events film, because I actually feel quite bad about films that exploit the plot of a war to put in their romantic ideology or their romantic filmmaking vision. I think that's like exploiting what has actually happened to the people there. It's, you know, war. I don't think war is a plot that should be used freely, if that makes sense, by filmmakers. You know, if you're telling the story of a specific person and if you're respecting their life story and what they've been through, and there's a lot to share in a painful story, right? So yeah, that's a different thing. But I see some films that just like take the plot of a war with imaginary characters, with imaginary struggles, and with imaginary events. You know, I feel like when I see that, the first thing I think is like, dude, if you want to imagine these characters, just put them in a different setting. Like, don't use something that's already set in stone and happened. That's an easy way out for a screenwriter. That's an easy way out for a director. You know, come up with your own.
Save that for Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
You know who? There's, I think, only a handful of filmmakers, I think, today who actually have, I think, really stood to the point we were making on how to like really respect the story and what it was really about. And from what I remember, there is Steven Spielberg. I think he does do this very responsibly. I do believe that Mel Gibson, he covered like a few hundred years of different war stories that I think he did do very responsibly and respectfully. And then there's also today, I can't believe this guy is still working, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of more like modern day wars, where it's like the Iraqi war, war in Afghanistan. He's been doing a lot of recent events, which is really tough. Like, it's really tough, like, because we're still living in war times right now.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, no, it's really sensitive topic. It's a really sensitive topic to make a film about a recent war. That's the risk. That's a big risk.
Well, that's because, I mean, you're turning, yes, you are documenting it, but you're also creating it into a past tense format, probably. And once you cross that line, the message you are sending is basically the absolute and part of the real story, or your interpretation of the story that could really be misconstrued in the history books, you know? Like once upon a time during World War II, John Wayne, I think, was in like 10 or 15 different World War II films during World War II. And From Here to Eternity was technically a World War II story. It was, but it wasn't. And that was Frank Sinatra's, I think, not acting debut, but that was when he was first getting started into acting. And then there was Burt Lancaster that was in that film. But when you look back on those movies today and what was actually going on during World War II, we were not getting the story of World War II. We were kind of like getting entertained during World War II. You know, we were getting distracted by the movies about World War II, which may or may not have anything specifically to do about what was actually truly happening.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's where it gets very dangerous and irresponsible as a filmmaker, is because we do have such a unique power and impression on history. You know, we do, because it can be used down the road as a resource of what actually did happen. Yeah. And that's where things could get very, very slippery. Especially if it's not real.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry, no, go ahead.
And on people's minds too. I mean, film is such a medium, just as you just said, it gives the power of impression on people's minds about anything, not even just a big, huge topic or historical topic like war, about anything, about relationships, about, I don't know, sexuality, about how to work in a job, how to get a job, about anything that's daily, you know, even about our daily comings and goings and doings. I mean, the oldest images and ideas I have about life come from film. So I think film is quite actually a very responsible medium. You know, you really have to be careful of how you articulate what you articulate and what people are going to take out of it. It's, besides absolute comedy, and even then, you know, it's more than just entertainment. So,
well, even entertainment, it wasn't too long ago I kind of found out like what entertainment actually means. And there was one definition that simply meant distraction.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I mean, and that really kind of like, you know, put me in check a little bit, especially being as involved in the filmmaking community as I've become. My dear friend who passed away not too long ago, back in 2005, he was the one who served in the Korean War and then went back to Vietnam. His name is Chris Farlacus, and he passed away in 2015. Combat medic with the U.S. Army, and we would talk about movies. And one thing that he told me that I just, it kind of just reminded me when you said what you said, is basically the impression that film actually does. So have you ever heard of Adolf Hitler?
Of course I have.
All right, so this guy is in the history books. And I don't know if he gets like credit more or less for this tactic, but he did actually authorize, to my knowledge, according to Chris, because I'll take his word. Like he grew up, like literally around that time. Like he understood the 40s. He became a man in the 50s, and in the 60s he became for the rest of his life. So when you take the tools like filmmaking and like even early days, just with simple editing, he really did something that became one of the first propaganda films or tactics. I guess he may have started propaganda. So what he actually did, was, or authorized, based on this tool and technology, he took filmmaking and he weaponized it. And this is what he did. What he actually did was to really rally and piss off the entire country of Germany, the country of Germany. He was able to piss them off with filmmaking. What he did was, he went on the Jew spree, on anti-Jew this, anti-Jew that, as we all know it, but this is what he did in the beginning. He would film rats. And while he was actually filming rats, he would have a narrator. And then I guess, I don't know if it's hypnosis or what filmmaking actually does to the human brain. He actually put faces and Jewish stars over the rats to kind of create this association of Jews and rats are one and the same. And that started propaganda filmmaking.
Well, I knew about propaganda filmmaking in the Germany during Hitler, but I didn't know specifically the tools that he used. I've just heard the story about the rats and the association. But, it's very easy to manipulate people's emotions with film. So that's even kind of scary.
Well, we see it. We see it today in modern times. We see it every 4 years. During, unfortunately, every 2 years, whenever there's an election, filmmaking, our art form, it becomes a weapon.
Yeah,
and it just literally it stirs the pot. That's how powerful it actually is. It really sucks that now our art form is being used as a weapon, which it was never, I hope, intended to. But then again, that might not necessarily be true. Only because that the first camera cinematically was invented based on the technology of the Colt revolver. Did you know that?
A what revolver?
COLT. The Colt revolver was actually one of the first 6-shooters that was created way after not way after the Revolutionary War, but it was created after the Revolutionary War, a little bit before the Civil War. It was the Colt revolver. So basically, it was a mechanic where just basically by the motion of your hand, it would cause the click and the rotation of the chamber.
Right.
So that exact same technology right there is now like what they use in all the Westerns to build a handgun. Okay, very cool. So I don't know if it was specifically Thomas Edison, but the same mechanics to actually create the motion picture as opposed to still photography that was also used when you would actually do it by hand and just mechanically get the snapshot per second, or like maybe five or six frames per second, or however long you're actually moving your hand. So it's kind of like there's that beauty for ashes type of thing where we're actually able to create something, that actually captures life as opposed to ending it necessarily. But again, these are two different tools that, depending on who's actually holding it, could convert that tool into a weapon.
Right. Well, talking about AI.
I don't know the first thing about AI. I tried it really this year, only because Heart and Soul actually was the first project. I had made, I keep forgetting what it is, but the pictures where you actually walk people through the scene visually. I forget what it's called. It's not slideshow, but it's the art form. I talked to a guy actually through Fiverr who converts images into AI generated images. So for Heart and Soul, I showed him what I had made 10, 15 years ago now. I think it was back in 2009. And he converted these little sketches into war AI generated images, and he was able to change the style where it's either in the future, like a very futuristic war, totally different outfits, which was really cool. But I said 1950s Korean War. The next thing you know, you got like really good art, like detailed images of combat scene, running scenes, close-ups of guys going through duress, post battle scenes, like really cool images, you know, just generated from AI. Because there's no way he didn't do it by hand, especially in 2 days. It was really cool. Just from like 10 pictures, he was able to generate 150 different photos that really brought you into the atmosphere of the Korean War.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's good news for people like us who wants to make war films, which is very difficult to shoot on set, obviously, you know. But I don't know. It's a bit scary for me.
Well, what was your impression of AI so far? From me, I didn't get a bad taste in my mouth yet.
I mean, I've just done some research on it. It's just the way that it's not being regulated, and I you know, I just brought up the idea of AI after you said the same machinery being on two different hands. Of, you know, if it's used for film, it's for capturing life. If it's used for weaponry, it's for ending life. So yeah, I don't really know where AI is gonna go with that.
Are you thinking like more along the lines of the Terminator?
Maybe. I mean, obviously, defense departments of all the countries have access to AI as well. I mean, we filmmakers do too, but defense departments do too. And have you listened to the what was his name? The Godfather, they call it, of AI, the person who's discovered the technology of.
Oh, I have not. Tell me
you
more.
have not. Yeah, so
Tell me more.
he has been on the news on, like, you know, major broadcasts and BBC and whatnot and CNN, where he's basically saying that AI is going to be evolving in such a fast pace than human beings, obviously, because it has access to everything on the internet, that it might actually be existentially threatening to human beings. And he retired, or he, well, I don't know if he retired or he, I don't know, but he was working on Google basically, and he gave up his spot in Google to be able to go on media and talk about this threat.
I guess it all comes down to the person who wields it.
What's his name? He's well, I knew his name.
Did it have anything to do with the Matrix? Like, I know Keanu Reeves talked about. He talked about like Matrix Revolution and the whole concept.
Oh, Jeffrey Hinton. Jeffrey Hinton.
I don't know him. No, I never heard of him.
Okay, Jeffrey Hinton. Yeah, he quit Google to be able to warn of this danger, basically. And he's the guy who's founded the technology of deep thinking. What do they call it? Deep learning, I guess it is. And that works with AI, machine learning and deep learning technologies.
So, oh boy,
well,
I didn't even know.
We'll see.
This, you know? Like, I did see. There is a TV show that's been going on for quite a long time. It's called, I think it's called The Brain Games. I think it was on True TV. And as soon as I got done with acting school, I only heard about it through castings, and of course I got to be like one of the background actors, and I was on a couple episodes of The Brain Games, and they were talking about basically how the brain interprets your reality right there, right in front of you. And the host, he went on, I forget his name, but he was he's a young guy, tall guy. He went on the Larry King show, and then he really started to talk about something that kind of just turned my head. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That there is technology that could actually kind of substitute organic cells, which we would have in the human body. there's technology that could provide the same function that's more, I don't know, metallic, but it provides the same results. But anyway, they then all of a sudden started seeing it in a couple different films. And a good example is in The Age of Ultron, where like after Hawkeye got shot in the very beginning, and then Dr. Chan, she was able to recreate all that like part of his body that got really damaged, and he totally restored it using technology. It wasn't legitimate actual his flesh that regenerated. It was technology. These substances, I don't even know if it was really organic substances, but it was a combination of scientific elements that provided the exact same function of human skin, and he was basically he was good to go. And that led to how Vision was created, this total avatar powered by the Soul Stone and AI all meshing together. But what the guy from Brain Games was actually kind of talking about was how the human body can actually be converted into a new body where you're not like your consciousness is just pretty much the only thing that's still a part of you, probably including your spine. And then it really got me going about, RoboCop. The only thing that this guy actually still was surviving on was just his brain and his spine.
Right.
That was it. But everything else mechanically, he could still sense and like feel his limitations by his grasp. And now you had this other show that came out, like Westworld, and how like they're actually able to take your consciousness, that's it, or try to figure out what exactly makes you the soul, and harness that into like the size of your hand, and then project that or put that into a digital reality, or even like just a totally new body. But you would have absolutely no idea that you're totally in this clone of yourself. So like all this technology, this stuff probably kind of maybe sort of could be related to AI, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're generating new skin. They're generating skin, like actual human skin on robots now. So yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll you and I, we both will experience this in our lifetime and see where it goes.
God willing, you know, if we're around for the next 5 decades, it's probably going to set the we're probably going to see the standard of existence in our lifetime. It's hard to imagine, like, where do we go from here? You know, like, is it like even resurrection? Can we bring back the soul? Can we bring back the consciousness? If so, how? And who's who's the guy playing God that says you to the left, the other guys to the right? You know, where does that even come from? It's actually kind of spooky.
Yeah, it's very spooky. I feel like we'll be able to store consciousness at one point. We might not be able to resurrect it, but we'll probably definitely be able to store human experience and human consciousness in a cumulative way, in a digital form.
I think we're already at that point, only because did you see the most recent Avatar movie, like The Way of Water?
No, I have not.
It's now on HBO Max. I recommend it. I saw it in theaters. It was worth it. Not as good as the first one. Nothing ever is, but it was there. The Tarzan character, we didn't need him. Whatever. But anyway, one of the main characters, spoiler alert, that main colonel who passed away, who got dropped in the first one. Okay, spoiler alert. He's back with a vengeance, and he's cloned in one of these Na'vi avatars. So they were actually able to take his consciousness, all of his like neurons, every single thing, including every memory he ever had, and put it into the avatar. And the only thing he wasn't able to actually bring with him into his new body was how he died later on that afternoon. So the technology probably already exists. And I guess sometimes in movies, that's how they introduce things to the world, on things that actually do exist. So what I did want to say was, the only thing that I am aware of is that we do not specifically know what consciousness actually is. And the only reason I know that is because we're actually able to shoot atoms, which the human body is totally comprised of atoms. positive and negative atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, atoms, all that gravy. Okay, there was a study that was done with a satellite. I think that was like by Mars, where they actually took that atom and they shot it across space, and it was like able to get to Mars in like 10 minutes or something like that, and something like that. So there, we know that we could get atoms, everything that we're made of, to actually get to that location. The only thing we don't know how to do is make sure if we were able to be dissolved into billions of pieces of atoms, teleport across the galaxy.
How would we put it back together, right?
That's the only thing they didn't figure out yet, and nobody's volunteering, and I don't blame them. It's like, poof, damn it. What do we do? I don't know.
Well,
keep trying.
I would like to be able to teleport. I think that's one of the biggest things I would love about this technology, which I mean, probably everybody else's, but you know, it would be really easy for me to travel back and forth from the United States to be on set in LA and then to be on set here. It would be really nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's worth your Metro card, $275 each. Yeah, I'll do that. That's fine.
Exactly.
Especially if it's safe. So we haven't figured it out quite yet, but I wouldn't be too surprised if either A, they did figure it out and they just don't want to talk about it, or maybe in the next 50 years, it's like, okay, check. Now what? I guess we just teleport now.
Teleport. That'd be fun.
Can you imagine that? Like, I mean, it was pretty popular to teleport in the video game Halo. I don't know if you're a big fan of Halo. I was a Halo freak throughout middle school. I loved that game.
I mean, it'd be really fun to teleport. It'd be really fun. It'd be really convenient to teleport.
You ain't kidding. And even with the beauty of filmmaking and the technology we have, like, no, we're not physically in the tangible space, but even with picture and art, there's got to be a bridge to that where consciously, if we could see something, then it does put us actually there. But how to actually operate and move around consciously, and then either continue or return, it's kind of trippy. And I guess, oh my God, it's too bad we only got 100 years to live. Huh?
Well, we might be able to see it.
I really want to know where I was the day before I was born. I just want to know that first. You know, what was you were born? What was I doing? Where was I? And how did I get there? You know,
I've never asked that question to myself, actually.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I've never asked that question.
I mean, like, when you think about it, in my experience as an actor, I started asking myself the question before I even started acting school. But in acting school, we always had this exercise that we had to really master before we went on stage. It was called, it was basically, what it was that really stuck with me? It was called the IPC. It was called the immediate preceding circumstance. So basically, whatever happened specifically that brought you into the room, that's the kind of energy you got to bring into the scene. Okay. And then all of a sudden, just like, you know, able to articulate it, like, what was the immediate preceding circumstance or moment before I just showed up alive?
A lot of contractions. And somebody tried to push you out of an organ. That's what happened.
You know, my mother is a champion, God bless her, but that was not my fault. It was not my idea. I had nothing to do with it. In fact, I think my dad is more responsible than anything. Just saying.
But that's exactly what happened right before you showed up. A lot of contractions and blood.
A lot, and there's
and
backstory.
you squeezing through a very narrow tunnel. And to be pushed out into this world.
We got to give so much respect and shout outs to all the moms out there, because like, I think they're taken for granted a little bit, where it's like, we would not be here had it not been for moms. Like, you know, they took care of us ever since we were born. I'm sure we have our opinions and our differences, but you know, they're people too. They were kids too. I think we're all old enough and mature enough to recognize that. But isn't it just kind of cool that you can just sort of like, you can see the Trinity where you got yourself, you got your parents, and you got your grandparents, and God willing, you're able to actually like really you're able to actually be together. But at one point, that great grandparent, they were born, and they got to experience being born with like 3 other generations that you never even met, and things like that. It's just like, well, wait a minute, how did I get here? If that's how it all starts. Wait a minute, where did I come from? Time out. That's it. Nobody do anything else.
Time out.
We have to figure this out. We cannot move on until we get it.
Somebody give me answers here, right?
Well, I mean, when you really think about it, like everybody here has that one thing in common. Mm-hmm. We just can't put our finger on it. It's just like, how did we get here? Like, we got the logic part, yeah, but how?
I know.
I mean, how is a very big question.
I know. It's a big question. I don't know.
I guess we can film it and figure it out.
Maybe one day after we're dead, when we cease to exist, we might have that answer. Just maybe. And until then, we'll just keep on making films.
Until then, we'll just keep on making films. This was a really nice podcast. It truly was. I've never done a podcast outside. The conversations on the AFC podcast are always, they're organic. Yeah, you never know what you're going to talk about. It's really exciting to, get to know you better. See you when you actually come back to the States. Please stop in New York the next time you're on your way to Los Angeles, if you're not too busy.
Hopefully I will. I miss it. I miss it a lot, actually. I'm just seeing the buildings behind you. The NYU building is right on the other side.
Now we got the Freedom Tower way out there in the distance.
Yeah, New York is one of my favorite cities. It's just, I like New York so much better than Los Angeles. I wish like the film industry was located in New York instead of LA.
Spoiler alert, it is. What do you think I've been building this whole time?
Well, no, there is a big part of it too. But most of the time when I get a casting, some are in New York, but most are well, so far have been in LA. Maybe I'll get one in New York, hopefully. I would love that. I would love that.
Well, when we do your war movie, we could do it in the Catskills.
Where would it be?
Fun fact about New York. The Catskill region is north of New York City. You got New York City. You got the 5 boroughs and the islands area.
Yeah.
Above that, you have what's called the Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's called the Catskills, and it's the mountains. You have the Catskill Mountains. You have parts of the Appalachian Trail. You have the Adirondack Mountains that connect all the way from deep in the south all the way up to Canada. Like New York, finally, especially most recently, thanks to the most recent governor, we're now basically on the same game playing field as the state of Georgia. So the state of New York has a 30% tax break for pretty much all your cast and crew. But in addition to that 10%, in the Hudson Valley Catskill area, it doesn't stop at 30%. It goes up. It's actually at 40% with an additional 10% of that region to hire local filmmakers and talent and all that stuff. So absolutely taking advantage of that. But a lot of the scenery, especially specifically around New Paltz, New York, you have really good valleys and mountain ranges that can really simulate, without the effects of CGI,
come back.
Unlike anywhere.
I see.
Aside, the only detail I would actually challenge people is be careful when you do that is the species of trees in that area. But yeah, now that the AFC is here, I don't think we're ever gonna replace Hollywood, but now the AFC is in town, we're gonna be doing things. We're gonna be doing things similar but more cool.
Hey, the new Hollywood is AFC, right?
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Great. Well, that's really good to know. I mean, I was just at the Cannes Film Festival to get all of this information about, tax rebates, local crews, local talent, and distribution and all that around the world. So who knows? Maybe I'll end up in New York.
Never say never, that's for sure.
Oh, I love New York. I mean, I think one of the dream castings that I would have would be whenever I did 2 TV series here in Turkey. And if I ever gotten a TV series in the United States, I always wish for it to be shot in New York.
Not necessarily a war story, but any TV show.
No, but something else. The only
TV show I know that we're definitely working on is an FDNY series set in the 90s.
Yeah, Manhattan Street. Shooting in Manhattan Street would be really cool.
We will be shooting in Manhattan later on in episode 10, 11, and 12, like right around that time.
Awesome.
I will definitely keep you in the loop.
Awesome. Keep me in the loop.
Well, Selin, this was a wonderful podcast, but before we wrap up, we always end our show with a segment called The Right Words at the Right Time.
Okay.
So this segment pretty much is a throwback to when I first started out as an actor. While I was doing Shakespeare in the Park or being on, not even film set, while in between rehearsals, I was always reading this book by Marcy Hopkins called The Right Words at the Right Time. But in this book was just a collective of essays and interviews, just short stories on household names like Shaquille O'Neal, Mel Brooks, more athletes, politicians, and they were all asked the same question about having the right words at the right time that got them through thick and thin. So I wanted to ask you the same question. So, Selin, has anybody ever given you the right words at the right time that have always stuck with you, that has been with you for better or worse through thick and thin, that helped you overcome every single obstacle or adversity you have come across thus far? Or do you have any words of your own that you would like to share for others to hear?
I see. Well, I guess one thing that comes to my mind is something that my dad always says. I remember when I wanted to start this short film, and but when I wasn't sure if I can pull it off and how it was going to be and all that, and he said, you only learn by doing. You're not going to make the best film when you keep imagining. You're going to make the best film 10 films after you did your worst films, maybe. So you only learn and improve by doing. I think that's one of the most important things. For better or for worse, you need to keep on just doing and learn from doing. Otherwise, you're not moving forward. And my addition to that would be to not give up once it's not what you expected it to be. He told me that I was going to learn by doing, but I wish somebody was also there behind my shoulder telling me to keep doing when I felt like, okay, you know what I did is not as good as I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would be it.
No, thank you for that, Selin. And I think you're doing everything right. And even though it might have taken you a little longer than you expected in the beginning to get to this point, but I think you persevered. And I think all of us are going to benefit from that one day, because we're going to get to watch you work and work with you. It's only like that's the process, and some like you just got to go through it. It's
so true. Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you for the kind and encouraging words. It goes for all of us.
It really does, especially when you're creative and you have an imagination like ours. And then it's just like, okay, how do we do it? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. How do you do it? I don't know. You just do it.
I guess we just figure it out, and we don't hope for the best. You're going to learn from your mistakes, like you said, and it will come to the point where you're going to come to a point where you either give up or you try again.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I just get my hand a rest. Sorry about that.
I know, you've been walking around for an hour now. It's been an hour, 20 minutes.
No, and I definitely got my steps in. That was so nice to just walk around West Forest Park. And it's a French word. I forgot the word, but it's the awning des Fleurs or something like that. I forget what it's called, but they have a copy of that in Paris, you know?
Yeah, is it Arc de Triomphe?
Yes, that was it. The Arc de Triomphe. I forgot. I'm not in college anymore. I don't remember everything.
Well, thank you for the podcast. Thank you for wanting to do an interview with me. It was a lot of fun. It was also really nice to get to know you as well, because we've talked once before, but this was much longer. And also, thank you for taking me back to my school. It's very nostalgic. Yes.
Okay, well, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you so much for coming on the AFC podcast. I'm really looking forward to seeing the story that you did not mention by name earlier, but we'll get back to that maybe later on in the summer. And I know it's like almost midnight by you by now?
No, 10:20.
It's bedtime.
No, I'm a late sleeper. I'll go till 1, 2 a.m., maybe later.
Not me. Me and Snow, my new puppy, lights out. We get our 8 to 10 hours every day and do it again the next. But we need our sleep.
I'm a late sleeper. I write mostly during night, so.
Oh my God, no.
What can you do?
When your imagination, your brain is getting all wonky. Oh, jeez.
But there are less distractions at night, and my brain works well in the afternoon and the wee hours.
Gotcha. Afternoon, New York City time, wee hours, European time. Yeah.
So this is perfect timing for me. I'm still in my, working hours.
There's probably a zodiac symbolism to contribute to that conversation that I don't know about, but we'll save it for somebody in the comments. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I gotta get back to OpCon. I'm still a guest speaker. So,
thank you. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we will end with I always end the show with this: wherever you go, whatever you do, always remember to never forget community, creativity, and joy. All right?
That's lovely. See you.
Ciao for now.
Yeah, bye-bye.